You've done it again.
Wire for Sound, yes, you have. Wire for Sound is like number, what, it just came on the charts? You don't start at 100. You start in the 80s.
Yeah.
Move up from there.
It's funny how in England, you know, the charts, you enter the charts really high, but it's all gone in about 5 or 6 weeks. We sort of sell records very quickly over there, whereas here there's a long build-up process.
Is it longer?
Oh, yeah, I mean, Wire for Sound, if it's going to be a hit record in America, it'll still be around at Christmas, somewhere in the 100. Whereas back home, we're almost into our second single from this album.
Would you ever have expected this would happen to a guy named Harry Webb?
No.
For those of you who don't know, Cliff Richard is not your real name.
Well, it is now. I changed it, in fact, only about 2 or 3 months ago. I've been Harry Webb all my life, but in point of fact, I feel more like Cliff Richard, and I was getting a little bit embarrassed when I came to the States, for instance, where I'm not known, and I'd shown my passport and things, and they still didn't think that was identity enough, because the passport had 2 names in it, and it got confused with traveler's checks and stuff, so I changed my name. I didn't tell my mother for ages.
How do you do that? Can anybody change? Can we?
Yeah, I think you legally should.
If Linda Gray wanted to be Barbara Streisand, could she change it? Can we just pick any name we want and change it?
Yeah, I think you'd be in trouble with Barbara Streisand.
No, I just picked that out of the air. I don't know.
No, you can. In fact, there was one guy whose name is Cliff Richards with an S on the end that I didn't know existed when I chose my name. And he designs, I thought, really dreadful colored pianos. And so I wrote up saying, you know, everyone thinks that they're my designs, and I'm not very proud of the fact that people think that I designed that piano. It's all psychedelic paint and stuff. And I got a very special letter back and said, you know, I do think that I have more right to the name than you, as I was born Cliff Richards. So I had to shut up and leave it to him.
He probably is accused of singing that dumb rock and roll.
He didn't mention that, though.
Can't you see it on a billboard? Harry Webb. Do you think if you'd been Harry Webb, you would have made it this far?
I think in those days, which is 4 or 5 years ago now, I think it mattered more than it does now. I think in those days, certainly as a fan myself, I wanted to have a name that was slightly more aggressive than Harry. I mean, and also there were songs in England, I don't know if you ever had them, there were songs like, That's the Trouble with Harry.
The Trouble with that, yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is that people used to say, we drop the H's a lot back home, and if you're a Cockney person, it's sort of Harry boy. Hello, Harry, all right, mate? And I always had this thing about Harry, you know, and so as soon as I could change it, I did to something that seemed a little more positive.
It's so amazing to me that you don't have you do have your real name now, but one of the things that we think of when we see Cliff Richard is reality. You haven't been caught up in the fantasy that other rock stars have been. People burn themselves out by 30. And you've kept your boots on the ground, your shoes on the floor, like few other people. Is there a reason for that?
Well, I mean, I know there is, yes. I mean, I think there are two reasons, really. I think, first of all, I had a fantastic family life. When I used to read the early reviews about why my band and I were doing this rock and roll, we used to laugh, you know, because it sort of suggested that we were all terrible rebels and that we were out to kick the older generation and do our own thing, whereas all we did was want to play guitar and sing. And I had a really great family relationship. I was never rebellious. I mean, I went through the period of thinking I knew better than my mum and dad. Everyone does, you know, oh, what do you know, Mum? You know, but I just grew along with that. And when I look back now, I realize that I had a real tight family connection. And the other thing is I became a Christian about 17 years ago. And that's the thing. This is going to be the only place in the world where you get a round of applause for saying something like that. But that's the thing that I think has kept me mostly stable, because, you know, if you read the Bible, it's frightening how it cuts you down all the time, you know. If you're going to boast only of being the Lord's, you know. In other words, you can't say, I'm a great singer, hey, I just made a great album, even if you have. And so it's a very leveling thing, I find.
On the other hand, a guy like Elvis was from a fine family background, very close to his mom and dad. He considered himself a Christian person or a good person, and he killed himself at 42.
Yeah.
Or he died at 42 in some way.
It's going to be so hard for any of us to really know exactly what Elvis was at the time that he died, or prior to the time he died. It just seemed to me that although we loved him as fans, I mean, I still go into print regularly saying that if there hadn't been an Elvis, there couldn't have been a me. I didn't want to sound like anyone else. In my formative years as a teenager, I wanted to be Elvis. If I'd woken up one morning and been Elvis, it would have been the thrill of my life. So something, we gave him our love, but it wasn't the kind of love that could touch him, really. I mean, and that's where fans have to understand that although they admire and love people whose records they buy and go and see gigs and things, it's not the love that finally counts, because someone wasn't close enough to Elvis to say, wait a minute, man, you can't fly to Chicago for a hamburger. That's an unreal lifestyle, and it's pointless. And
who says that to you?
Just about everyone in my band. And my management is terrific as well. I mean, they don't mess around. I think perhaps Elvis had a lot of people who just nodded all the time. Yes, Elvis, yes, that's great. Yes, that's fine. Yes, you're sounding great. Yes, you're looking great. Yes, it's... And you need people to just go, sometimes.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I need that a lot, I think.
I don't know how to spell it, but it sounds good.
Yeah. Linda, who was that for you? What keeps your feet on the ground?
Oh, my family, definitely. I mean, I come home and I'm just so excited and this and that, and they say, okay, now, what's for dinner? And help me with my homework. And I mean, it's very humbling, and I think you have to have that.
It's real.
And I think if you have real friends, like Cliff was just saying, that they're honest with you, and they don't just say, yes, you're wonderful, beautiful, and all this stuff all the time.
If you live in that, see, that's right. If you come back and live in a real life, if you have an existence that's real, it's got to work. Because most of us live, I mean, we know, when you're out there doing a song, I don't walk about with wires wrapped around me and lighting making my hair shine all the time. And when you're on stage, well, it's true. No, I don't. I can't afford that. But when you're on stage, I'm terribly aware of the fact that lighting makes you look in a particular way. And that when you're in the supermarket, I mean, I've had this as well back home. I make a point of doing my own sort of Saturday morning shopping. I've had people go, ooh, he hasn't shaved.
Have you seen him in person?
That's right. But I find that's good, because I think to myself, as long as I look right at my job, why should people expect me to wear gold lame in the supermarket?
Here you are. Now, I was thinking you're in your early 40s, can we say?
I should be 41 in October, which is this month.
I hope I look as good as you do when you're 40. When I'm 40. I hate it when people say that. I'll be 40 in December. Singing rock and roll and singing contemporary music like this is usually done by people in their 20s, right?
Yeah.
Do any people question that you're still singing this way at 41?
I think they started to do it 5 or 6 years ago, actually, when I was 36.
Yeah.
But the thing is that what's confounded everyone, certainly in England, is that I still have successful chart entries. I mean, there are a lot of people, and by rights I suppose I ought to safely be in a cabaret club somewhere, which would be fine by me, really, but it just so happens that somehow, by meeting the right people, so, I mean, I can't take all the credit for the stuff I do. All I do is sing on the album, and what I sell is me as a person and my vocal ability, which some people like and some people don't. Most don't, in fact. When you think, well, it's true. I sold 1 million records here with a song called Devil Woman, but 249 million people didn't buy it.
They didn't. You mustn't look at it like it. That's like saying this glass is half empty. You must think of it as being half full.
Okay.
And Cliff Richard, your life is very, very full.
Yes.
We're all going to enjoy Cliff. We're all going to enjoy Kelly Monteith right after this, whose life is very full as well.